Hi everyone, welcome to the October edition of Wavelength. Well, we're here at Wirtz Dam, which is right in the middle of a massive construction project as part of LCRA's dam modernization program. But following floodgate operations during the recent June flood event, another problem was discovered which requires immediate attention. Burrito, get over here. When heavy rain swelled the Llano River to over 38 feet, the second highest level ever, the deluge of water coming into Lake LBJ caused the LCRA to open all 10 floodgates at Wirtz Dam for the first time in its history. The crush of water from the floodgates traveling at 70 feet per second eroded the granite riverbed below the dam, creating this hole 110 feet long and 12 feet deep. Once the hole was discovered in late August during a routine inspection, LCRA officials moved quickly to deal with the situation. The hole poses no immediate threat to dam safety, but if another flood were to occur, the hole could grow back towards the dam, causing a failure.
Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, 1997.
General Manager Mark Rose called a special meeting of the LCRA Board of Directors on September 3rd to inform them about the problem at Wirtz.
I feel very strongly that once you have an indication that you have at least a realistic scenario in which there could be a failure of the dam, and you have an obligation to do two things. One, fix it as quickly as possible, and secondly, tell folks about it.
The board approved spending $4 million for a two-phased project to repair the erosion.
What we've got going here is a roadway out to the hole itself to allow us to be able to get heavy equipment in, including concrete pouring equipment, so that the construction can continue even during generation.
Plans call for the eroded area to be filled with concrete. Then hundreds of holes will be drilled through the concrete and down 15 feet into the bedrock below. Anchor rods will then be inserted into these holes and cemented into place to stitch the concrete and granite together. Finally, the entire area in front of the dam will be capped with a 5-foot thick concrete slab.
We feel very confident that LCRA has a good handle on the situation here. They've been very proactive in their approach. I was immediately called after Rick Fritchoff dove and investigated the hole, and he filled me in very thoroughly on their activities, the three-phase repair progress that they were going to embark on. We feel real good about the situation.
This is not the first time an erosion problem has occurred at Wirtz. During the 1952 flood, a larger, deeper hole was created near the current one. It grew in size over time and was repaired in 1970 with no subsequent problems. By the end of September, the hole was filled with concrete and ready to begin the drilling process. The current timetable calls for the most critical repairs to be finished in November and final touches completed early next year.
For 150 years, the Colorado River and the city of Bastrop have stood by each other. Generation after generation, people have come to these muddy banks to renew their spirits. In just a few months, there will be a new way to enjoy the Colorado River, one that will allow people a chance to experience the history of the river and the city of Bastrop all at once. Through a cooperative agreement with the LCRA, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, and the city of Bastrop, a 10-foot wide path will connect Fisherman's Park with Ferry Park. The mile-long trail will give visitors a chance to take a leisurely walk or just sit and watch the river roll by. When construction of the Riverwalk is complete, it'll do far more than just connect Fisherman's Park with Ferry Park. It'll serve as a timeless memorial to a woman who perhaps loved this river more than anyone else. Her name is June Poppy, and on this day, Bastrop honored her name by dedicating the Riverwalk in her honor. As the shovels announced the official opening of the Riverwalk, June Poppy was on the minds of most everyone. She was a tireless advocate for the river until her death, and now her spirit will inspire future generations of people who will step up and take care of the river.
3, 2, 1.
So it was only fitting that the new trail would be officially called the June Hill Poppy Riverwalk.
This is not a sad day for me at all. This is a happy and a glorious and, by luck, a beautiful day. in which we remember this river and remember a dear friend.
Well, we, of course, as family members, are overwhelmed that the community has continued to memorialize June and her love for the community and the river, and she spent a lot of effort in trying to make sure the water quality of the Colorado was improved. She and a group of friends enjoyed tubing down the Colorado and canoeing and all the fun things that Colorado provides.
For generations to come, it's likely that as people roll by this stretch of the river, they'll stop and wonder who June Poppy was.
She would love a day like this. She loved the river. She liked to canoe on the river. She loved bass drop. I'm just so happy this is dedicated to her. I mean, this is really what she would love. She'd love to see the children and the people of the community be able to use this trail and this park, and I don't think it could be more fitting for her and for the community.
We're out here to clean up all the stuff we can get out of this lake, stuff that shouldn't have been here in the first place.
They came early Sunday morning from all over Central Texas. 750 volunteers came to dive, drive boats, and load trash. They came with one thing in common: a desire to make Lake Travis a cleaner, better place for all of us.
I think it's much needed, and it's a shame that a lot of people throw trash down there. I'm finding a lot of broken glass and beer bottles, beer cans.
Yeah, I think it's really important event.
Who else is going to do it?
Gets people outside. Looks like Budweiser's the king of beers. Wish these people would stop throwing them over the board, though. It's a lot easier just dumping the trash.
Yeah.
This is the third annual Lake Travis underwater cleanup sponsored by the Friends of the Colorado River Foundation. It all started because the local dive community wanted to give something back to this lake.
It's really encouraging that regional divers have come to us, and because they take such pride in Lake Travis being one of the clearest lakes, a lake with some of the highest visibility in the state of Texas, it's really encouraging to see that our role as one of a facilitator, we're really just helping this community-based action happen.
Working hard?
There were also some landlubbers who came out to help. Boy Scout Troop 170 from Cedar Park volunteered to clean up Starnes Island right in the middle of Lake Travis.
It just shows that we care, that our community needs to have a clean place to go, to do all the recreational stuff.
When the trash boats start to come in from the dive locations, you can really see just how important this effort is. Not only do they bring in thousands of cans and bottles, but also tires, batteries, scrap metal, building materials, and the occasional two-wheeler.
This cleanup is fabulous. We've had lots of people. They're collecting lots of trash. The enthusiasm is wonderful. The businesses at the lake have really participated, and it's a wonderful, wonderful event. It's very fun to do it every year, and people just sign up now. It's really neat.
It's kind of a salute to our responsibility. We've enjoyed the lake all summer long. Kind of a real special part of Central Texas. It's a treasure, and we are stewards of this treasure. We have a responsibility not only to our own community to keep it clean, but a responsibility to all of Texas to keep the Colorado River clean.
Final totals included 268 bags of trash, 2,500 pounds of scrap metal, 13 tires, and the most valuable item found was a dive computer worth $1,000.
Employees at the Thomas Ferguson Power Plant near Marble Falls have reached a major milestone in the history of that facility. It's taken nearly 10 years for the 48 employees at Ferguson to work an incredible 1 million hours without a lost time accident. Employees gathered at the plant recently with managers and LCRA board members for a breakfast celebrating their accomplishment.
I guess really the culture of Ferguson Power Plant has always been, safety has been an integral part of that culture. It goes back to Leland Fisher and Norman Jones. They both played a real significant role in keeping safety on the forefront, and I was able to come in and been here almost 3 years and capitalize on some of the things that they got started at the plant.
Nichols says the next milestone will be December 3rd, which will be 10 full years without a lost time accident at the Ferguson Power Plant. Congratulations, and remember, be safe out there.
Well, how you folks doing today? I'm here in Bastrop County, right on the shores of the beautiful Colorado River. You know, about a year ago, I wrote a little song about the history of the LCRA. And since that time, I've kind of been inspired by this river we got here to write a little song about the history of this river. I enlisted the help of my good buddy, Mr. Donnie Malden from over at the Club Ferguson. We put together a little rendition I think you're gonna like. So we'd like to take this opportunity to share it with you. So here it is.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're on.
On the high plains of West Texas, bubbling beneath the soil, there's a treasure seeking sunlight, more precious than gas and oil. As the crystal clear, cool water pours forth from below, it's on its way this very day to the Gulf of Mexico. It becomes a mighty river, Colorado is her name. She's a gift from God to Texas, so all the people claim. And roll, Colorado, roll on. Roll, Colorado, roll on. On your journey to the sea, you've touched the heart of me. Roll, Colorado, roll on. Roll, Colorado, roll on. She's been home to mankind for 10,000 years or more. They partook of her bounty as they camped along her shore. She's been tapped for her power and they've tried to tame her down. When she goes on the rampage, you better head for higher ground. She can be a gentle provider, but she can take away. She's carried a stream of hopes and dreams down to Matagorda Bay. And roll, Colorado, roll on. Roll, Colorado, roll on. On your journey to the sea, you've touched the heart of me. Roll, Colorado, roll on. Roll, Colorado, roll on. As she cuts through central Texas, her beauty there abounds. Past farms, fields, and forests, and little country towns. We, the folks who love her, must be stewards of this land. For like a fragile flower, she requires a gentle hand. There's a river down in Texas, Colorado is her name. And once you laid your eyes on her, Lord, you'll never be the same. And roll, Colorado, roll on. Roll, Colorado.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that little song. We sure enjoyed putting it together for you. And I want to give a special thanks to a very talented guy, Mr. Donnie Malden over at Ferguson Power Plant. Also, might have noticed there were a couple other familiar faces in there, Miss Suzanne Zarling and Miss Darlene Motley and Miss Theresa Ali. Also want to say a word of thanks to our folks and friends over at the Arrowhead Productions who did a fantastic job putting this video together. So, hope you enjoyed it. And this is the old Supreme Commander saying, roll on, Colorado, roll on.
Back in August, the LCRA received special recognition from the Texas Historical Commission for its work over the past 2 decades in preserving the history of the region.
This morning it's truly an honor to be here and present to you a very high honor, a very high award, the Texas Award for Historic Preservation.
Projects which contributed to the award include creation of the Buchanan Dam Museum in Burnett County, funding publication of the books Born of the River and the more recent Frontier River, which deal with the history of the Colorado River. And there are many other projects, but perhaps the most significant one is the discovery and preservation of the Kingsland Archaeological Site on the shores of Lake LBJ. Once the LCRA realized the historical significance of the Kingsland site, the decision was made to develop it and share it with the public.
It's unique. LCRA took the site and used it as an educational facility, going well beyond compliance, and opened it so that people could come in here and take a look, so that the public could see what an archaeological site was like.
There are public tours of the site on Saturdays. Each June there's a teacher's workshop here, and approximately 1,000 students per year take field trips to the site.
What we get is a better understanding of how people lived in the past. When we go back to school, we'll be talking about ancient civilizations in Texas, the Karankawa Indians, Tonkawas, Caddoan tribes, and they can get a better understanding of how the Indians lived, how they had to survive, and the students get a good grasp of hands-on materials, and they're better able to understand and bring it back into the classroom, and they can really see how people lived back then.
This recreation of an archaic campsite is a brand new attraction this year. It shows how nomadic hunter-gatherers lived in central Texas during the archaic period, which ended 1,250 years ago. So far, over 100,000 artifacts have been uncovered here, including flint tools, spear points, arrowheads, and grinding stones.
Well, I just thought it was interesting how you actually thought, well, you could be walking over what was a campfire and what may be the next big discovery in archaeology.
For more information about tours and workshops at the Kingsland Archaeological Center, call Bruce Nightingale at 800-776-5272, extension 2112.
In the October LCRA news, just in time for Halloween, read about some Texas terrors, local ghost stories from the LCRA service area. You can read more about the work going on at Wirtz Dam and check out the new Environmental Laboratory Services building at the Del Shaw Service Center.
It came without warning. That's often heard after a major storm strikes Texas, like the recent flooding.
And that happens more often than you think. Texas has one of the thinnest networks of surface weather monitoring stations in the nation. In tonight's Only at 10 report, KV24's Danny Hermosillo tells us possible changes would cost millions, but save lives.
Call it a prediction because it's really a sophisticated guess. So the more information you have, the more accurate information you have, then the better guesses that we're going to
make. The only thing predictable about Texas weather is that it's unpredictable. In less than a year, we endured floods, freezes, and drought. What were once considered once-in-a-lifetime catastrophes are coming around more often.
When I was small, we heard about the drought of the 50s and how severe it was and how many problems it created for cattle. Yeah, get out, baby. Yeah. Turn around, turn around.
Bob Carr lived through a drought himself last year. His cattle thinned out with nothing to eat and were often sold at a loss. Now the cattle business is turning around. No one is quite sure how long that will last.
I think once if we could get some predictability to some of the patterns, long-term patterns, it would certainly help us as far as our long-term goals.
A long-term goal for the state is to improve its forecasting system. Only 1 in every 5 Texas counties have weather monitoring stations. Major chunks of North and West Texas have no coverage at all. The same goes for the Rio Grande Valley and the Gulf. By contrast, Oklahoma has a weather station in every county, more in some areas.
Today we have a good network of sense systems from satellites and from Doppler weather radar. However, the measurements that we get from those radar estimates in terms of the rainfall estimations is not as accurate as one would like.
Texas wants to close those gaps with the Mesonet. It would set up stations in every county and blanket metropolitan areas. The advanced system means advance warnings when storms are about to hit isolated areas. Mesonet could also monitor air pollution and help long-term planning for businesses dependent on the weather.
We make electricity. If we know it's going to be hot, then we know what units to put on. If we know it's going to be real cold, then we know the sooner we know that, then we know what fuel to buy.
Putting the Mesonet together would cost $32 million and take about 5 years to install. Until then, Texans are at the mercy of the elements. Danny Hermosillo, KVUE 24 News.
The Mesonet project is being spearheaded by the Lower Colorado River Authority, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech. If the project works, they will ask the state for full funding of the Mesonet.
Now, Mark, how would the Mesonet affect your job and your forecast?
Well, for example, the floods we had in June, right? That was a system that came up out of Mexico, and their upper air reporting stations are several, like 300 miles apart, and you have a weather system that's only 200 miles across. It can easily be missed, and a network that's more dense would really help us, I think, make some better forecasts.
Well, that's it for this edition of Wavelength. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.